Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Post in Black, where we celebrate Black excellence behind the lens. We want to thank the Dolby Institute, our title sponsor, and our supporting sponsor, Avid, for your support. Without you and your contributions, we would not be able to do this. Today, we have a very intriguing episode and a special episode because we have Matthew Moses, creative director of Certified Deluxe, music licensing company in LA. How you doing, bro?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm great. It's like family.
I know.
We talked about this, and the idea is pretty cool because you're doing a lot. You know, obviously, when you talk to us about what you're doing now in music, it's unique because you started in fashion. If you're watching right now, if you're listening right now, you got to check out the outfit. Come on, bro.
Man,
tell us about the hat. Tell us about
it.
What's happening, man.
Wow. Yeah. No, this brand is Collegiate Rebel. So it's another project that I put together with a buddy. Yeah. And it just, tells the story of the year 1968, and all the milestones that happened during that year. So it's dope.
That's fire.
Yeah. I got you.
Got to. Nah. We got to jump in, but I had to just say that right off the bat. But we're excited to have you. Obviously, we're going to talk a little bit about what you're doing now in music. We always like to start with an icebreaker, though. Can we do that?
Please.
Yes, let's do it. So you work in music, and I have a twofold question here because the question I have is, if you could name a band, and it would be your band, what would the name of your band be?
I have no idea, bro. That's so extreme.
Yeah, it's unique.
Yeah.
It's always coming up with the name. I mean, I think the next question I had, because I thought that would be interesting, is how has your music taste changed over the years?
Yeah, that's a better question. We come back to the name.
Yeah.
But I would say my music taste has definitely just evolved as it should, like I'm originally from Atlanta, and Atlanta has a sound, but Atlanta is also very, very diverse, a lot more diverse musically and creatively than I think people give it credit for. But I think also what makes the Atlanta sound work is all of the textures and all of the different influences that we have in the music. I would say that I've always really been interested in hip hop first, but obviously jazz and world music too. So I think over the last 20 years or so, I'm always looking for something that's very unique that just catches my ear, and then I just have always followed that, kind of gone down that rabbit hole, and that just leads you to whatever, the weirdest thing you can think of is jamming to me. You know what I mean? So
no, I feel that, man, because we are not all the same. Yeah. You know what I mean? Different genres, everything. I played the drums growing up.
Oh, dope.
And then just grew up in the DC area. Right. So go-go was the first music I ever heard. So every song that's popular, I heard the go-go version first.
Right.
And that was just so unique. And then when I went to college at Hampton, we Hampton alum,
come on,
my
man.
Guy. I went to Hampton and talked to people that never heard of go-go. I was like, where are you from? What is going on? I was like, what's happening?
Yeah, and go-go was cool too. Like obviously I had the same experience. I was familiar with go-go, but I had never been to a go-go.
Right.
And so just being in the Virginia area, I was just dude, when can we do that? I was I wanted to have that experience first. You know what I mean? So very
That's
cool.
fire. That's fire. Well, tell us a little bit about you. Obviously, we know you from Atlanta, and obviously you've worked in fashion and music, everything. But tell us a little bit more about your business now and how you're going into the sync field. And I want to learn more about that too, because it's very unique, and I didn't even know as much about it as I'm learning now. So can you talk about your company as well?
Yeah, so Certified Deluxe, we are a music licensing agency, right? And we, I treat it more so like a lifestyle company. Music companies are definitely evolving now. Management companies are more like boutique labels. And so the responsibility of the manager or the executive is a lot more broad and robust today than it was even 5 years ago. Just like in film and TV, or you take a vocation like photography, for instance, everyone has a camera. So
Yeah.
in a sense, like the value of the photographer has kind of gone down because like everyone's taking pictures. So it's like very much like that with music too.
Yeah.
You have, producers who have a unique sound, have a unique voice, but like any kid with a laptop can just like make a beat and like get it cracking, and he's like, giving the music away or he's selling it for like
Yeah.
no money, you know what I mean? So it makes it harder for people with like very good talent to get their voice heard.
Yeah.
But then it also makes it very difficult for them to monetize their work. So I look at my job as I'm like an ambassador. I curate and I, identify the need of the client, the production company, the studio, the network, and I go out and I like look for very specific musicians that do a very specific thing, and pair them with those shows, those production companies, those supervisors. And it's a way to expand the opportunities for the artists, and also a way to obviously make them some money. And so, it's a partnership, but the objective is to provide a business platform, and to bring out what's very special.
That's really intriguing, and I think that's dope that you say you want to be an ambassador. I'm intrigued because what got you interested in that? Obviously knowing music, being in Atlanta, probably just having that connection. But like,
Sure.
what was it about that? Did you always have an interest in? Did you play instruments? Did you have an interest in this in the past and just didn't want to dive into it fully? Like,
Yeah,
what was that?
sure. I would say, I started off my creative journey as in music, right?
Yeah.
As like producing, right? In high school, I interned as So Def. When I went to Hampton, I studied marketing because I thought that, I would work in the music industry. I kind of got into fashion out of necessity, just like, printing T-shirts, and kind of like it just became a career.
Yeah.
But like my intention, like the only job I ever wanted to have was to like do music,
Yeah.
So of course, like I was in marching band in high school, and was just always around musicians, sort of, like always like, at church, I'm, in the back with the preachers. So like
Yeah.
my life was like, it's kind of like being backstage, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I've sort of just always gravitated to that experience. My dad was a financial service provider. Like he did like accounting and like tax preparation.
Okay.
He had a lot of music clients, and, people that worked in the music industry. So I got a lot of like knowledge just from like being around.
Yeah.
And, I've always had a passion for working with like legendary artists or like iconic artists. And again, like finding opportunities for them to like expand their career or expand their catalog beyond like what they've already, what people know them for.
I love that. And that's like doing it for the culture, doing it for the people. But then also like there's a lot of things that you said that you had exposure to.
Yeah.
So that, I mean, how many people get that opportunity?
Yeah.
Like that's iconic.
Yeah.
And then I know, especially being, from Atlanta, having that opportunity, that was like, what would you say if you could tell just a little bit, like what did you learn while you were there or experience while you were there that maybe, I guess, helped you, or just like you learned, say like, man, I didn't even know that was a business move in that regard?
Yeah, I mean that's a great question because like your man was saying earlier, he like promoted parties and like did flyers and stuff like that, right? So that was actually one of the first things I learned. Like I was a marketing intern, and I was there sort of like just before Bow Wow broke. So it was like a really good time for the company.
Yeah.
And they were very active. All of their artists were doing good work, and then Jermaine was also doing lots of production. So he was like hot at the time.
Yeah.
And I would say the one thing I learned, two things I learned is people cannot consume what you are making if they don't know that it exists. So you have to really be aggressive with the marketing, and the way that you package your product or your experience has to be unique to you.
Man.
So those were two very like, important
I think
things.
I think you just hit on something that is important for not just artists in the music industry, but artists in general. And then I think people of color, Black people, all over, because you could have something but not know how to get it out there. And then what good is it if people can't see it or exposed to it? You know what I mean? Like that's really big. And marketing is something that I'll speak for me.
Yeah.
When I got to Los Angeles 16, 17 years ago now,
Wow.
didn't have an idea about the business side as much as I think I should have when it comes to entertainment and acting that I do now. And I said, oh, it's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah.
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 Go ahead.
No, please.
Yeah. I was just gonna say, what do you think as a like your new business owner, a Black business owner, what do you think is something that is a difficult thing for you to navigate in this industry? Because obviously you're breaking into it, but then there's a respect level. There's maybe a age, thing where people see a young man and they may not give you credit where credit is due in a way. What do you think are some obstacles that you might have to go through as you're breaking in to kind of establish yourself even more?
Yeah, I mean that's an interesting question. Like I look at it like this: if you have the goods,
Yeah,
then
I feel that.
it's hard to be it's hard to be denied. But the biggest thing is just being able to deliver, and if you can deliver when you are called upon, even if it doesn't work, if you're consistent with the delivery, if the quality is right, it's packaged in the right way, it's it's formatted right, and you know who to call to get a question answered, or know who to call to get the product delivered on time, then I think that in my experience, the respect is like gained over time. Like, like just because you're interested in doing it doesn't mean that the world is just gonna like open up and give you the opportunity. You still have to like show up and be a professional.
Right.
Yeah.
That's good. That's more than good. That's actually like excellent. Just in this, I'm thinking while you're saying all of this, because I'm very intrigued into like the business side and building out a company. Now, for you, when you started out, what was the next step?
Yeah. So okay. So I know what you're getting at. So essentially, it's working with syncs is tough because like everybody like wants to do it. When I first started working with syncs, it was it was at a time when the music industry was sort of like completely shifting away from CDs and into streaming, and then people were like really trying to figure out like what that meant. And at that time, I didn't have like a company. I was more so just like a manager or like a liaison, or just like working with artists and just figuring out like how to make a couple plays, right?
Yeah.
So I got a few placements during that time, but for me, what worked was instead of responding to a brief, so a music supervisor or a production company will put out a brief and they'll say, we're working on this TV show, and we need to replace a song that sounds like Jodeci,
right,
whatever, right? And so please send by whatever, right? So so there's like a whole thing, and then in the brief they're giving you all the instructions, like the mood, the tone, whatever. And so my approach used to be, all right, like call everybody I know, get all this stuff in, and go through that for 2 days, and then try to like make the deadline, right? And so what happens is, you may like land on something like that, but then there's like a lot of hassle that comes with that too, because now you're having to like sell people on like this whole thing that may or may not happen, right? And then if it does happen, like you don't really know the guy because you met him through your friend, and now you got to go like explain
the business and all that stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they don't really, maybe he doesn't understand the business because he's like making it in his bedroom. He's not like a professional. Right. Not, like nothing, you know.
No,
I
know what you mean. Yeah.
Right.
There's a few steps to it.
Yeah, some steps to it, right? So he doesn't know. So when I decided to set up Certified Deluxe, my approach was to look at the resources that I had and be very specific and very intentional about the music that I wanted to represent. And what that did was it allowed me to have a higher quality catalog, and I could be very specific about the production companies or the music supervisors or the other agencies that I dealt with, because I could see the types of projects that they were working on, and I could simply just like pair, plug and play, and it just be like more strategic with the, with the submissions.
That's something that helps you stand out and does something different. And obviously, people don't know. We can put the credits up there: Disney, HBO,
right,
Apple. I asked somebody before that was like, "What's your favorite project?" And they were like, "The next one." You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
What do you think? Was it like the first one obviously helped you get the next one, but when you're reaching out, what is that pitching process like for you? How long does that actually take, would you say, in terms of like the length of time? Because obviously you're trying to get the credibility for your company, but is that like a 2-month, 3-month process? We know how long filming music takes.
Like, so you mean like a process between like pitch and like
and
like
actually securing?
It could be months. It could be months.
And how many meetings do you feel like? Do you know like you're having during that time to pitch over and over? They're like, oh, dude, making adjustments to the song that you brought in and doing that.
Like I'm at this stage, it's not so much of that. It is a little bit of that, but that usually comes if the supervisor or the editing team is at a place where like they have to turn in an edit like the next day or at the by like the end of the week or something, they like have to replace a record. And so, we will, and you'll like, later on you'll talk to Aaron and he'll like kind of fill you in on that. But I would say the time varies, right? There's not a direct answer to that. The time definitely varies.
No, that's good. And you mentioned Aaron, and ladies and gentlemen, we have a very special part of the show because we actually have one of the artists that you work with. We're going to bring him in, but can you talk a little bit about what it was like that made you guys connect, and how special this man is?
Sure.
To you guys.
So Aphra is, he's a producer.
Yeah.
But he competes in beat battles, right?
Wow.
And so, like obviously, like I love music, but I love producers. And you can't be from Atlanta and like not like rap music, right? But at the end of the day, like I look at like producers in the same way that you would look at like a stylist. You know what I'm saying? So you may have like a great MC. You know what I mean? And he can put the flow together and he can spit, but like the producer is like putting the fit together, right? And so what's cool about what A-Frame does is he does like production, like acrobatics. You know what I'm saying? So it's not just like a dope beat. It's like, it's out of here. You know what I mean? Man. It's like very exciting, you know, but that is very important too, because it speaks to like his taste level, his sensibility. And that means that if an opportunity comes up that's unique, chances are he's going to be able to fit and figure out a way to like mold what he does to fit that situation. And that is what is needed with syncs. And I think that's the thing that people kind of like miss is like, it's not really about like how like hot your record is or how good your song is. What music syncs are really about is like, can you follow instructions and can you make the record fit the request? You know what I mean? Like that's all it is. Yeah.
I would say one last thing before we want to bring A-Frame in. What would be the difference between your company and maybe somebody else, or maybe you're just locked in on being so unique that you can't even take time to know? But obviously, there's other sync licensing companies out there, and they're doing things. What is it about yours that you feel like is creating a niche that is like, okay, we want to go back to Matthew, we want to go back to his team, A-Frame, because of what they do?
Sure. I mean, I would say customer service.
Yes, sir.
We always try to deliver the product in the right format, and in every deliver all the files that they would that the supervisor would need or that the editor would need, so they're not having to come back and ask us questions or get this file or get that. And most importantly is one stop. So once you come to us, we can clear the record very, very quickly.
Yeah.
They don't have to worry about any issues with like samples or people not signing off on things. It's like if I'm presenting it, it's already like cleared, basically cleared and ready to go. So speed and customer service are like the key things.
That's the key, and it's the main thing a lot of times. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
That's real big.
Definitely.
So, this is a special episode. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we're going to be right back because we have another special guest in the building. All right, y'all, we are back after a quick commercial break, and we got A-Frame in the building with us on Posting Black. A-Frame, thanks for being here, man.
Oh, thanks for having me.
No, it's fire. We're going to dive into a little bit of how you guys got connected, but obviously we start with that icebreaker. I want to ask you too, how has your taste in music changed over the years? You're from LA, right?
Yes.
Yes, sir. How has your music taste changed?
Similar to what Matt would say, as it evolved, but it's always been like home base of like, hip hop, R&B, and like experimental electronic music, which has kind of sat with me as a kid into like my adulthood now. So nothing too big of a change, but just more of a wider palette and more of a different hat, like to how I listen to the music rather than just listening to it with one point of view.
Yeah. I feel that. Man, I talked about go-go, but I was like, every go-go song was an R&B song.
Right.
So I was in love with R&B. I was like a romantic in like the 6th grade. I'm singing all these songs. I'm like, why am I falling in love with Erica? You know what I mean? Like I'm out there tripping. And that's, shout out to Erica. Oh, man. But how did you guys get connected? Obviously you're working in the music. He said, music. What was the phrase? You said gymnastics,
acrobatics
with the
sure.
music.
He's a gymnast.
I was intrigued. A gymnast.
I like that.
What was that like? How did you guys get connected, and what was it about Matt that made you want to work?
So back in 2016, I participated in a beat battle. It's kind of random that I found online, and who happened to be there were two of my cousins, one of which at the time was Matthew's girlfriend, now wife. And I didn't know they were gonna be there. And he heard, he just happened to be there when I was playing. And since then, throughout the years, we've kept communication connection. He's always been trying to plug me into any projects that if it made sense. Vice versa, I've always genuinely supported like his clothing endeavors.
Right.
Really enjoy the pieces. And then leading into, what he's doing now, he presented me with an idea like, hey, I know you do this side of music, but I think we could do something more, if it's challenging enough for you or for me as a producer to transition more into a commercial sync side of the world. And so far I think it's we're kind of hitting the notes on those. I love that. And it's truly a family affair. Yeah. It
Didn't
really
even
is.
know that. That's really wild. What about sync is intriguing to you, coming from a different world as an artist like that? What about sync is intriguing to you now it's got the wheels spinning?
It's I guess it's more of the different kind of like the variety and of sonics, but challenging yourself as a producer to make it digestible for the audience, and not to be so close-minded, like not be like, no, I'm this type of producer, I only make this, and being transparent to what what's being consumed, but like also being a fan of that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. And I have a question for you as a follow-up with both of you. You know, as an artist, you know, and coming into it, we talk with everybody in post all the time. And I know you're dealing with everybody in post. What's the thing that you can maybe advise an artist coming up that would help the editing and post process be even smoother? You know, like things they can do ahead of time to position themselves better for the conversations, the meetings, and then being in production. Because that's a lot of things that we see sometimes that slow projects up, or people getting pushed to the side and moved on because they weren't prepared in the way. That makes sense. You know what I mean?
I would say just stick to the notes. Don't, try to go overboard. Put your creative input on it, but stick to those notes and stem everything out.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. And then I would say that the biggest thing that gets that gets young producers in trouble are like samples. I know it sounds cool, but like
talk about that a little bit in a layered way, because I think I know what you mean, but I want to hear it more so from a professional's mindset.
Well, just very literally, if you use a sample and you're trying to like sneak a Sade like vocal into your track, and then like I submit that to HBO, like, and you don't tell me, they're gonna, if they pick up on that and I didn't catch it because I'm trusting you, right? So that gets kicked back, and then now like they're not coming to me because I didn't catch the sample, right? So I'm gonna catch the sample. Right. So if you send it to me and I catch the sample and I already asked you to not send anything with the sample, then I can't. I'm not calling you back.
It's like it's a twofold. It's like the meme, like they're gonna know.
They're gonna know. They're gonna know.
But you're right. But it's also it's like either you didn't catch it, which is problematic.
Yeah.
Or you didn't follow instructions, which is
also
problematic. Yeah, that's real.
Yeah.
I think that. How often has that happened for you? And then I guess my question was it one time where a company that you were working with, a client, they noticed it, and then you were like, oh. I mean, did that ever happen, or
For me, like I've never had that experience, just because I've always just been like, I'm not a huge company, so it's like I just don't want to get sued, right? Mm-hmm. But people submit things all the time with samples, and you have to remind them. You know what I mean? So it definitely does happen, but you have to be very careful.
What's the process like for submissions for you all, and what goes into that collaborative effort of deciding who to bring on and work with? It might not be the right song, but maybe if you give them a little coaching or talk to them, you're like, I like their vision. If they had some direction, this is the artist we want to work with. What are you looking for in terms of artists and people to work with and collaborate with?
Yeah, I would say, people who are serious about their music, and who are consistent, like meaning like they're working on it every day. Yeah. They do have a style, but they are also willing to collaborate. These records, a lot of times these records are not records that like end up on the radio. Mm-hmm. When you hear like a lot of sync music, it's sometimes they're period pieces that are just, a 1 minute loop with like a few like it's like in a particular format, right? Mm-hmm. So what we've been working towards is making records that are for sync that can be released as, as a traditional like commercial product, right? Yeah. So you want someone that can, again, follow instructions, they're willing to collaborate, they have a style, because maybe your bass line can fit into something that Aaron's doing, or maybe your whatever, like your top line can go with something or whatever, we can like mix it up and we can like develop the record. So they have to really be willing to like collaborate is a big thing.
Collaboration is a big part of the industry as a whole, I think. So you just got to have that tool. We've been in the middle of, we're out of a strike per se in terms of entertainment, acting, writing, all of that. But the industry, the city that we live in, LA, has been changed dramatically for so many people. Music has changed. Where do you guys, what do you think the state of the music industry is right now, and how does that affect what you're doing, and where do you think it's going in the future? You know, there's all this AI, there's all of those different things. How is that affecting what you do? If you want to, go into that's heavy. Yeah.
It's interesting because it seems music now is just more content based, less focused on like the product itself rather than just the image. I feel like that just hinders people's creativity and maybe will just kind of box you in and can just feel uninspired to like be your true self, and you're trying to fit into a certain demographic that's just not truly you. But at the same time, like I think it's important to be transparent about that and just like understand that that's the current landscape. So you kind of have to try to play both fields of like, okay, I'm going to stay true to myself. At the same time, like if this is the current market, then what can I do, or who can I collaborate with that can have, you know, that will reach that audience as well. So I think if your heart's really in it, you know, you're gonna be in it it's a forever marathon. So you just kind of have to play ball. You know, you gotta, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so,
no, I know. Yeah, that's unique. And Matthew, anything to that too?
No, I would agree with that. I mean, I couldn't have said it any better. Like it's a lot different than it was 10 years ago. You know, so if you grew up having the dream of like, you know, seeing, you know, if you grew up having the dream of like whatever the traditional music industry was, it's just not that anymore. It's something different. You know, it's more from a business perspective. It's like more analytical. It's more about numbers. I think in some ways people are getting back to wanting to hear wanting quality. Like there's a debate right now, I'm sure you've seen it, about like how important live instrumentation is over with music, and it's like how could live instruments not be important to music? But for so long it hasn't been like a thing, you know?
Yeah.
So I think from a creative standpoint, I think using all the resources that are available to make something original, not just because it sounds like what's on the radio. Like, you know, it's important to make something that sounds original, and have it be of quality. I think that's very, very important.
Yeah, that's really big, and it is original. I think you both mentioned that. I think that's what you're saying. It's like it's hard to be when those restrictions are put on those conference, but that kind of still is what makes you stand out. What advice would you give this like people trying to get into what you do? Because it's not easy. People are trying to do it all the time and not doing it well, but you've had some success, but you want to have continued success, legacy, doing this forever, be the go-to. What is some advice that you would give to somebody working to get into what you're doing, or even trying to work with you?
I mean, I would say just stick to your guns and don't just believe in fully what you're doing. If no one really does it, that might sound kind of cliche and kind of like maybe boring, but I mean, if you like and really work with people who, if even just one person that just like really believes in you, like
that's basically what I was going to say is definitely network, right?
Yeah.
And put together a team, you know, not for the sake of having a team to say that you're like a crew.
No, for sure.
But, you know, put together a team, you know, people that someone that specializes in whatever. Like there should be a guy on the team that's all he does is mix his records.
Yeah.
There should be someone on the team who all they do is go out and she just finds the opportunities and brings them back, you know, or whatever, right? And then in terms of looking for opportunities, I think, you know, we live in a world of new media. You know, everybody wants to have their song like in the Super Bowl ad, but I'm sure, you know, your homegirl is making a film right now and you can score her film, you know, and if she's working hard, she's going to be pushing her film. So your music is going to get out there. Eventually you'll build up a body of work that you can, you know, put a price tag on. So, you know, everybody it doesn't always have to be like the top thing day one. It's okay to build it up and learn what it means to be a professional in the industry that you are wanting to enter.
I think that's a missing ingredient in a lot of things. Learning how to be a professional. A lot of people want what they don't even know what comes with it. You know what I mean? And there's obviously work that's been put in. One of the last things, because obviously we're not going to keep you forever, but one of the last things I want to ask you guys is, people getting into the industry always have like a mentor, somebody they saw doing it before them. Was there anybody for you, that it might not have been in music, sync, licensing, all of that, but was it an entrepreneur, your father doing the things that he was doing with marketing? Was it somebody that got you started and motivated to do this? Because somebody could be looking at this saying, hey, those brothers look like me. Young, creative. I could potentially do this. Was there anybody for you that kind of intrigued and got you going?
It's just more of like placing myself in the community, like the
Okay.
local like music community, and just
Yeah.
being inspired by like what everyone else is doing.
Yeah.
I could even just more recent, I can call Matt like kind of like a mentor. He's kind of like teaching me more about the business side. So that's
Yeah.
like a whole new world.
That's real though.
So if we're maybe segueing into that, but for the most part, it was just putting myself in those positions and just
Yeah.
soaking all that in.
I think that's real. Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, I've had an opportunity to work with a couple of like really cool music supervisors and really um, cool producers, like
Mm-hmm.
people, like right now we do a lot of work with this production company, the Co-Stars,
Yeah.
and they did a lot of like cool records in the 2000s and like lots of like co-productions and
Yeah.
stuff. And so it's made working with them, learning from them as like sort of made me a better A&R, a better creative director
Mm-hmm.
because like I'm able to listen to what is truly needed from a creative standpoint versus like not just like what my taste not just like what my taste says, right?
Man, nah, that you're hitting on something because it is in the production world. You can create the show you want, and that's really big, and that's sometimes what we need to do.
Sure.
But there might be a need for a different show, and if you can create that show, it might give you the funds and the opportunity and the exposure and the credibility to create the show that you want. So you create the need, get what you want.
Definitely.
You feel me?
Definitely.
That's really big. What do you guys need? Because that's what we're gonna end on this with. You know what I mean?
Man.
Obviously, we try to give people like there's editors that are looking for work, VFX artists looking for work. We always say, where can they follow? What will be something as we're getting towards another year when this episode is released?
Sure.
What is something that you're looking for to build and connect with that maybe the audience or people that are listening and watching could, be helpful with?
Yeah, definitely. Well, right now, we are really looking to work with new production companies, film producers, directors, people who are, if you're making a podcast, you have a podcast series, and if you need music, we have, we can create music for you. If you are a filmmaker or anyone that's in media, and you are working and you need music, you need very good music, you need it to be cleared quickly, you need custom boutique, we are here to help. And if you are a musician, you can always reach out. Anyone can always reach out to us on Instagram, certified _deluxe. So at certified _deluxe, if you play any instruments, please reach out. We'd love to connect.
And what about you, bro? When you're looking to bring these people in, anything that people can know to connect with you, or you social media, all that.
Yeah, if not through the Certified Deluxe through Matt, I'm just produced by Aphra across all social media platforms. And yeah, if anyone does want to connect, we're trying to transition to the sync world or just be more, they want to collaborate as far as production or vocalists want to reach out. I'm always open for collaboration.
Yeah, no, I think we can make that happen for sure. I think it's going to happen. So
Yeah.
I'm intrigued. I know people are listening and watching have been really informed a lot with this. I appreciate you guys joining us on the episode and just taking time out of your day.
I appreciate
And
you.
no, it's love, man. It's love, and we're going to continue to build and do business. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode of Post in Black. We appreciate all your love and support. Make sure you subscribe, like, share this episode with everyone you know. Subscribe to the podcast on all your social platforms. And thank you to the Dolby Institute again. And thank you to Avid for your support. Until next time, we'll see you. Stay black.